Welcome to the second installment of the Working with Your Dreams series that I'm doing. I'm hoping to keep these fairly short, but who knows? So, the first question is, did you dream? I would love to see in the comments whether or not you're dreaming. If you find that you haven't had a dream that you've been able to record, even using the shorthand or trying different tools out at night, skip to the next video. I'm actually going to, when I end this one, we're going to do a faring forth to find a dream guide to help us. Now, if you're someone who is not into the whole woo-woo thing and you're feeling like, this is not going to be accessible to me, dream work can, you can work with it no matter your philosophy. If you feel like you do not buy into all that deeper meaning or collective unconscious or the ways in which we connect without direct connection, then you can approach it from a standpoint of connecting with your subconscious. Our subconscious selves work a lot through symbolism. We have a lot that's going on in the background that doesn't come all the way up to our awareness and understanding very often, and dreams are one way in which that does. So you can work with this from strictly a standpoint of working with your subconscious. If that's who you are and you're concerned about the part where we go to find a dream guide, think of it as connecting to a part of your subconscious. There have been many authors over the years who have written about encountering their subconscious selves in a dreamlike state or in their dreams and having full conversations with them. This will be a way for you to connect to that part of yourself and have a conversation without your awareness brain and your alpha brain waves getting in the way and mucking things up. So you can connect and find a dream guide, whether or not you believe the dream guide is real and is a guide for you, or whether you believe that the dream guide is just a part of your subconscious that is there to support you. So this work can be done by anyone, no matter your beliefs or cosmology or approach. It's still accessible, and I will try to remember to put different languaging in there to help you all feel comfortable as much as possible. But if I forget, because I'm human, go ahead and just apply it on your own, knowing that the intention here is that this can be accessible to anyone, really. So my personal training is I have been trained in, I have a master's in counseling psychology with an emphasis in expressive arts therapy. A lot of this does come from my expressive arts therapy training, but it's very important to note that I am not here in a therapist's capacity right now. What we are doing is, I have to say, for entertainment purposes, because I'm not acting as your therapist. I'm not licensed by the state to be a therapist currently, even though I have all the training and the degree. So I am not acting in that capacity. If anything gets kicked up while you're doing the dream work and working on what your subconscious may or may not be telling you, then I definitely encourage you to connect with a therapist. There are a lot of therapists doing online counseling. In fact, in Facebook, there have been several encouragements to seek support online popping up in my feed, so it shouldn't be too hard to track down. If you do get stuck and need a little help, post something in the comments. I'm happy to do an additional video on where to find support. But again, I am not here in the capacity of a therapist for you today. I'm here to just offer some ways to connect with dreams for entertainment purposes. And if you happen to find some self-evaluative knowledge or improve your life in the process, that's fantastic. Okay, that aside, did you dream? If you didn't dream, you're going to jump ahead. If you did dream, excellent. Why do we remember our dreams? Oftentimes, our dreams show up, the ones we remember show up as nightmares. And it's really easy to be afraid of these because they're intense. They evoke really dramatic emotions in us. And that is a way of our subconscious trying to get us to remember the dreams. It doesn't mean that by investigating what they say, it's going to be a horrible thing. You might find that the nightmare is actually a positive message of hope for you once you take a look at it. So don't be afraid of working with a bad dream or a nightmare. You don't have to have a good dream where everything's happy. Those are often harder to remember because our emotions haven't been engaged enough to help us keep it in our consciousness when we wake up. Setting your brain. It can help to set your brain before you go to sleep. There's a whole offshoot of dreaming that works with lucid dreaming, and I was going to pull some research for you, but frankly, I am not personally interested in lucid dreaming at all. So I encourage you to look it up and to look into it if that's something you want to pursue. Basically, it's becoming aware in the middle of your dream that you're dreaming. For me, I don't need to know that I'm dreaming when I'm in the middle of dreaming. In fact, I'd rather have the dream unimpeded by conscious knowledge and then pull it into waking and write it down real quick before it disappears into subconscious slip. But some people find that they can remember their dreams more if they are lucid dreaming. And then some people really enjoy turning the tides, changing a nightmare so it's not frightening, so that they can empower themselves and do work and face fears in that way through lucid dreaming. So again, that's a powerful thing, and there is a lot of interest out there and a lot of articles and books that can help you delve into doing work in that way. That's not something I'm going to go into here. So setting your brain before you go to sleep. I used to sleep through everything. In fact, one time lightning struck a tree right outside our window, and it split the tree in half, and it fell just brushing by the window. And everyone in our apartment building and the apartment building across the street and the one 2 doors down and the one way over there, everyone woke up. Everyone came out, and I slept through the entire thing. I went down in the morning to the playground. I was a kid and was so surprised because I didn't know what happened, and everyone laughed when I asked. So I am a heavy sleeper, and one of the things my mom taught me, because it was such a chore to wake me up, and one time she woke me up out of the middle of a rough dream, and it was not pleasant for her, so she quit waking me up and told me I had to set my brain. So I found that if I can set myself to sleep through certain sounds, or to only wake up when X, Y, or Z happens, or wake up at such and such time, that without an alarm clock, I will just wake up. So this is also true for setting your brain. You can often set your brain to wake you up, or set your brain to remember your dreams. So if you want more dreams to work with, or you're struggling to dream, go ahead and set your dream, and it will help you. So the next thing I want to do is I want to talk about Freud's approach to dream work. So Freud believes very specific, everything is X, Y, or Z. Most of the dream dictionaries you find will be Freudian based. Some of them may have a little bit of Jungian information in them, but mostly they will be Freudian based, and it will say this symbol equals that. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the interpretive movement for psychological work or for dream interpretation, but I do think that it shouldn't be dismissed outright. So we're going to take one of my dreams. I've got it right here, and we're actually going to take a look at it using the Freudian approach, and then also talking about what it's like to apply a more open lens and a Jungian approach, which as I'm talking about it here, I'm referring to, instead of a bowl or a nest means you want security and you need to rest, always. It's going to be a nest often means you want security and need to rest. But for you, what does a nest mean? Maybe when you were 5, you climbed a tree and you were reaching for a nest and you fell out and broke your arm, and that was the beginning of all this loss for you. So a nest reminds you of loss. So when you look at a nest in your dream, a Jungian, a Freudian approach would say, no matter what, it means security and need to rest. But a Jungian approach would say, it often means a need to rest. And for you, it specifically means, hey, this reminds you of this horrible traumatic time. Maybe I'm reaching too far and I need to back it up and take some time to care for myself instead of reaching for what the dream or what I really think how it should be. Maybe I need to use what I have and rest. Otherwise, I might fall out of the tree and terrible things will happen. So do you see how you can temper the Freudian definitions with some personal information? And that's a Jungian approach, or a more Jungian approach. I'm not going to say it's the approach because a million people will post and tell me how wrong I am. Okay. So the dream that I had is that, let's get to the correct dream here. I did not mark the page. We want dream 2. I had 3 dreams this night, and dream 2 was that my mom, my brother, and my sister and I, in real life, were on our way to church, but we weren't going to our family church in real life. We were going to a Jewish synagogue for a Jewish ceremony. We had to park, and there was this giant curb, and the car couldn't fit up over the curb. And then we managed to get it there, but there was another family also parking, and so we had a struggle getting my brother out of the car in real life. He is wheelchair bound, and so wheelchair parking was always a big deal for us. So we finally got him parked, and then my mom actually got out of the car and pushed it from the outside back. My sister was in the front seat, I was in the back seat. My brother had been unloaded, and my mom pushed the car backwards and then asked us to pull the parking brake. And my sister's right there, and she wouldn't do it, so I had to lean forward through the seat and pull the parking brake. And before I left the car, I tripped over my mom's earrings. And in real life, my mom never wore jewelry. So this is an odd thing that she'd have earrings and they might fall out in the car. And they were like lead weights, and they hurt me really badly when I tripped, like tripping against a giant anchor or something. And she wanted them and asked me to hand them to her, and I did, but I said, they're broken because they were thin filaments of woven gold, and they had kind of broken and come loose. And she was not surprised at that, and she was talking about that to this fish bug thing in her hand. She knew they were unfixable, but she wanted them anyway, and she seemed to expect it. So we were talking about visitors. We had family staying with us, and it was a lot of little kids in the dream. And wow, this is going on too long. I'll tell you a little bit more of the dream, and then we'll stop and we'll look at the interpretations. So we were talking about visitors, family coming, and I was irritated because we already had all these little kids staying with us. And she said these 2 names of people coming, and it turns out that they're 2 adults, and they have kids with them. Some of their kids are high school age, and I'm trying to find out the names of the 2 adults and what the high school age kids' names are, but she just kind of ignores me. And we get out and get into the synagogue, and then we're early, but I lose track of my mom and my sister, and my brother's going over to where we're going to sit. He's in his electric wheelchair, and we're about to start when I realize that I'm actually laying on a padded handrail with my head on my side. And I realize I don't know the etiquette here. I don't know if I'm being disrespectful or what's going on. So I hop off and hurry to get into my seating. to figure it out. So I'm going to skip a whole bunch of the dream. And while we're sitting there, there's this fish tech creature that my mom was talking to in the car about her earrings. She won't answer me about the families, so I start instead asking her about that fish technology thing. And it's actually now it's folded up and wrapped like it's one of those yellow Starburst candies. And she tells me that it's adaptive tech for one of the 6-year-olds staying with us, a little girl cousin. And she tells me how it works. And then I lean forward and I touch it to look at it. And it likes me, and it ends up latching on behind my ear right here. It turns into kind of a bee and latches in. And then my mom freaks out and wants me to disconnect it right now and starts telling me all the side effects of what can happen. But it's bonded to me, and it, for the first time in my life, I feel not alone, and it's such a beautiful feeling. But she's really freaking out, and so she pries it off to me, starts trying to pry it off of me. And I'm asking her, can't you just reason with it and talk it free? You were talking to it earlier. And she just won't respond again. She goes back to that not responding to me thing. She pries it off, but it leaves a stinger in. And we'll stop there. So if I were doing a Freudian analysis of this dream, and dreams are always quite the thing, aren't they? The Freudian approach would be to look at some of the key items. So let's start with family. I'm with my family in the dream. So family in a dream dictionary says that it's security, warmth, love. It's overly dependent, or that you're overly dependent on your family if you're having a dream with family. So I don't think that either of these things are appropriate for my dream. That doesn't feel right to me as a definition of the dream, but it gives me a starting off point. I can begin looking at family. You know, what is being with the version of my family in this dream? What is the feeling state I have right there? What does family mean to me? Does it have anything to do with security, warmth, and love? I would say some of those themes are in there because when the adaptive tech thing latches to my ear, it's the first time I felt loved and connected and not alone. So some of those themes are there, but I don't think that that's the correct description of what the symbolism of being with my family in this dream means to me. So I'm going to explore that a little bit more. I may just free journal about it. And that's what I would suggest you do when you encounter something that doesn't quite match up. Let's take a look at the fact that there's family visiting. I'm very unhappy that more family is coming. I don't want a ton of little kids around. And a family visit signifies an important decision. And again, I don't think this matches at all. I think a little bit of what's happening is I'm processing the fact that I've just moved. One of the roommate situation I moved from, one of the new goals is to have a lot of family move in and a lot of little kids. And the problem with a lot of little kids, though I love them, is that the kitchen, you can't expect them to keep the kitchen and walkways accessible for me. In the course of their playing, often they would leave a stool right in the walkway and another thing right in the walkway, and then I'd come home from work. I'd barely be able to make it to my bed, and because of my chronic pain and injury, and this is real life, and I would have to shift and move things out of the way. So it makes sense that in this dream state, I'm kind of dealing with those feelings. So again, the acknowledgement that some of what we're dreaming is latent things that we're working on and processing. So processing that I've moved from one situation to another and my feelings about the move. And so there's more for me to explore there. And then another thing is just random bits that happens to, and then actual symbolic things or messages from your subconscious or the collective unconscious, which would be the fourth thing if you believe in that. So We're at 19 minutes. I'm super long-winded. I apologize, but I'm going to continue. Feel free to jump off at any point if you got the gist of it, and then you can hop to the next video that I'll do and post up here tomorrow about how to fare forth to meet a guide to help you with dreaming. So back to looking at mine. Let's look at gold earrings. Gold earrings are a positive sign. They speak to an increase of wealth, a change for the better, prosperity and abundance. But there's more about the gold earrings than just that in my dream. So if I look at it with a Jungian lens and a wider lens than just the Freudian approach, I'm going to see that I tripped over the earrings. So I tripped over this symbol of wonderfulness and good things. I'm stumbling in that moment. What does that mean to me? There's another journal point for me. I can investigate that further. It was my mom's earrings. So this is her view of what wealth and abundance and success is. Her view may not be the same as my view, and I would imagine I might trip over that. So again, looking at the further dynamics of what it means in my life and what is happening in my life. So let's talk about a parking lot. It says a parking lot is about feeling stuck or being in transition. I would say it's not about being stuck, but possibly being in transition, although there was a little struggle with the shuffle. It can be, parking a car can be a desire to settle down. I find it interesting if that's the meaning of parking a car, that I got mad that my mom and sister wouldn't just take care of it and I had to lean over and pull the parking brake. In my family, I'm currently the only one who is not married with a family. So there's a lot to explore there. The last thing I want to talk to is the fish. A fish can be insights brought to surface, symbolism of Christianity, or an evasive situation. Not sure. So the Seattle Library has a talk by Ted Andrews, who's an author. He wrote the book Animal Speak. And in this talk, he talks about working with animals in a way that is much more grounded, instead of looking up what an animal means or what your spirit animal might be. That's a little bit appropriative. But instead taking a deeper look at what are the symbols at play. If you listen to this talk in the Seattle Library, or if you can get your hands on it or read his book, that might help you work with dreams a little bit more, because it talks about how to look in more depth about what it means to you. So what does a fish do in real life? What type of fish was it? How does that fish live? How does it how does it reproduce? What does it need to be at home? Looking at all of these things in real life, you can pull that into the symbolism and look at what it might mean in your dream after learning more about a fish. Why was it a fish when it was in my mom's hands and a bee when it was with me? So looking at what fish do, what bees do. Fish are in schools, bees are in hives. So there's a lot happening there and a lot to research and look up. So that's just a little bit to get you started. I would say go ahead for your homework, choose one symbol from one of your dreams. And again, if you haven't dreamed yet, tomorrow I will be posting the video on how to find a dream guide that you can try and work with to see if you'll have more dreams. And then you can also set your brain to remember your dream. Say before you go to bed, I will go to sleep, I will have dreams, and when I wake up, I will remember them long enough to put them down. So choose one symbol from your dream, look it up in a dream dictionary and write down what they have to say it means, quote unquote, and then free write about what that means to you, what that thing means or that action or activity means to you. So I'm going to write about fish and what fish mean to me. I'm going to look up what a fish means online, and we'll go from there. So that's your homework. I will check in with you. I encourage you to please mention things in the comments, ask questions in the comments. I will address what I can in the next video. And again, this is a series of several installments. I'm going to stop here because I definitely want to be under the 30-minute mark. We're at 25 minutes because I value your time. So good luck with your dreams. I hope this is a little bit insightful and you have a place to start with one of the symbols from one of your recent dreams, and we'll go from there. All right, take care. Bye.